morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see all of you this morning and so grateful. This is a wonderful day in Prince George's. And I have to tell you, we've been having a lot of great days in Prince George's. And it is in part due to the work that all of you all have done over the last 3 months plus. I am so grateful to each of you and want to just say thank you so much for lending us your expertise and your time and your best thoughts as to how we should move our agenda forward. I know that the evenings were long. Many of you have worked during the day and spent hours with us, and so I'm really appreciative of all of your time. I especially want to thank Major Riddick, who was here just a moment ago, who has been tireless in his efforts to make sure that we are focused and on the right track and organized. I also want to thank Rosie Allen Herring, who has also likewise been so generous with her time and experience. And they both have just been really invaluable to me and to our growing administration. I want to thank as well all of our chairs and co-chairs who have taken time to help lead us. And this morning, we're excited to begin to talk about, I will just share some of the top line results from the reports that you all generated. And I have to tell you that we're already well on our way. Many of the recommendations that you made are recommendations that we were able to incorporate in our budget. You'll see that budget will be released. We'll begin to talk about it next week. But I think you'll be very pleased to know that we are funding our priorities together. And I have to tell you as well that you all are making me look really good. I mean, what people say is, oh my gosh, I can't believe the breadth of talent that you were able to attract to this administration, the great people who are supporting you, because we know that the truth really is we're only as strong as our relationships. And I think that we have developed really great and strong relationships, and it's noticed. It is well noticed. And so, again, I'm just excited about the start that we're off to. Again, I'm going to go in a moment through some of the top line recommendations that were made through each of the 12 work groups. Good morning, David. But I also just want to tell you that I think we've also had a very strong start. So, you know, in Annapolis, we have a very fiery team of folks on our legislative team in Annapolis, and they are working so that we're able also, again, to support the objectives, and many of them are reflected in your report. But that team is a tireless team, and they are likewise making a lot of noise in Annapolis in a really, really positive way. We are focused laser-like on education and education funding. Dr. Golson is here, and we have spent a good amount of time in Annapolis making sure that when we come back after this legislative session, it is our objective, and I'm telling you, I think we are in a really good posture, but I believe that we'll bring back the largest amount of funding for school construction that we have ever seen in Prince George's County. We're looking at nearly $1 billion over the next 20 years, in addition to what the state gives us every year. So this is above and beyond the general amount of school construction funding that we get, but we put in a very aggressive plan to allow us to use a really innovative P3 model to build about 18 schools over the next 7 years. And so this is a really great model that will be not only something that will be looked at across the state, but this is a really innovative model that will be replicated, I believe, across the country. So we're excited about that. I want to thank the co-chairs of the 12 committees that we have, beginning with Budget and Finance. Terry Charles, I don't know if she's able to be here this morning. Terry Charles, Doug Brown, and Henry Mosley. I also want to thank on our Central Services Committee, Dennis Brownlee, who I know I saw this morning, and Donna Wilson. Donna's not here. I know I've spoken with her recently. On Economic Development, Rosie Allen Herring and Thomas Bizzuto, Congressman Anthony Brown, Tom Graham, David Harrington, and Councilman Todd Turner. We also have on the Education and Workforce, Dr. Breaux, Dr. Dukes, Dr. Golson, and Dr. Lowe. On the Environment, Transportation, and Sustainability, I want to thank Emeka Monemi. I hope I didn't mess up the last name. We've known each other for a long time. Honorable Paul Penske, Senator Penske, John Picari, and David Velasquez. On Health and Human Services, David Byrd, I want to thank him. I saw him here. Joy Davis, Secretary Gloria Lawler, who I swear I'm going to be just like when I grow up if it's the last thing that I do. I also want to thank Delegate Jocelyn Pena-Melnick. And then for Housing and Community Development, Pamela Bundy and Ray Skinner. On organizational development and talent management, Joe Adler, Eric Bunn, and Artist Hampshire Cowan. And on public engagement, Diana, Leon Brown, and Tonya Wellens. Public safety, Jim Estep and Andrew Pantelis. Technology, Wanda Gibson and Bernard Wright. And youth sports, Justin Ross. Can you help me give them all, give yourselves, please, a round of applause. And just in terms of some of the executive summary, you all will have a copy of that. You should have it right there. It was handed out. But you'll also have the complete report, which we will post and share on the website. So we'll make that available to everyone to look at. And we'll again be incorporating many of these recommendations as we go along. But I do want to mention some of the top line results from our report, beginning with budget and finance. One of the recommendations is one that we all agree, and it is increasing the commercial tax base, which is low relative to the residential tax base. Again, I believe we're well on our way in terms of fulfilling this particular objective. It's been a long time coming, and we recognize the true need to increase the commercial tax base, increase business in the county, and I can just tell you that part of how we focused on that is making sure that we are a business-friendly environment. We've worked through our agencies, even in our budget process, to make sure that we're strengthening agencies such as the Department of Permitting and Inspections, making sure that we're also making really great investments in the Office of Central Services, and just making sure that when people come to Prince George's County to do business, they are not encountering bureaucracy and backlog and unprofessionalism, but that we are truly committed to transparency and performance, and that we are really setting the bar high in terms of the professional service that our business owners and others will encounter when they come here. There's also recommendation that we would improve the tax policies and systems and change the perception of low-performing schools, which has an adverse effect on economic development. Again, I believe that we have the right team in place. Dr. Golson has done an amazing job even already in terms of connecting with many stakeholders in our communities and really getting out and telling the story about the work that we're doing in our school system. And so budget and tax, leveraging technology to increase efficiency and effectiveness. This is one of the areas that we have seen, honestly, throughout government as a real challenge for us. And that is that we have not done as well as we could in terms of technology and efficiency and effectiveness. Put bluntly, one of our new directors said to us in the kindest way that he could during his budget review that he walked in and felt like he was coming right into 1985. And so this is unfortunately a theme that we have heard throughout many of our agencies, and so we've made some investments that we think will help us not to be outdated, but to continue to increase the tax base and bring effective and efficient services to our county and to improve technology. So we're working in the area of technology. In the area of central services, one of the major recommendations was to properly train and certify our employees. And this is also an area that we thought was very important to provide more and better training opportunities for our employees to ensure that their skills stay as sharp as possible. And we are working with Sean Stokes, who is our acting and soon-to-be director of the Office of Human Resource Management, also working with Jonathan Butler over in the Office of Central Services to ensure that we have more robust training and that we're able to better evaluate our employees. You know, as we talk about developing a workforce in the county, one of the points that the thought was really important to make is it's not just investing in a workforce in the county without first investing in the workforce we already have existing. So we want to make sure that we are making the right investments there and that we are innovative in terms of how we conduct that training. And so that was one of the opportunities that we identified. We feel that we have not done the best job that we could in terms of really providing training for our workforce and providing the kinds of investments in the people who are already here. Sean has a really innovative idea also about going out on the weekends and actually setting up seminars and other things so that folks in our community can take advantage of them before they apply for jobs, to make sure that we're screening and getting the best folks, but just making sure that proper training and certification is a part of what we do. It's going to be really important. In economic development, one of the top line recommendations was for P3 development opportunities around metro stations. Of course, we believe this is a really great idea, and that we'll have so many opportunities to work smarter. We're looking at doing P3s, as I mentioned a moment ago, with our school system, and which will allow us to build those 18 schools, and we believe that it is cost effective and innovative, and it will allow us to move quicker than with some of our traditional funding methods. And so we want to be able to assign that as well to some of the work that we do in economic development, and we believe that that will help us to also yield greater results. Increase assessment and evaluation tools that measure the county's economic performance, we think is also a really great recommendation that came from that particular work group, and to attract, retain, and expand business. Align public, private, and public partnerships, we talked about that, and to create synergy in the county's investments, enterprise assets, and approval processes. So these, again, are areas that we were able to take into account as we begin to build the budget, but that is a part of that recommendation. Education and workforce. I love the recommendation about resources for parents, and that is to provide age-appropriate resources for our parents so that they become their children's first teacher. I think there are a few recommendations that are as important as this one. It is finding ways to help our parents become their children's first teachers. I think that what you will hear from the school system, and I've heard this now a number of times, including recently with conversations with Dr. Golson, is that our kids come to kindergarten and they are not ready. So the work that we do between 0 to 3 even is critically important, and really increasing the resources for parents so that their kids come to school ready to learn, and so that our parents are also in the best posture to reinforce the lessons that are taught in the classroom. So this means we're going to have to get really outside of the school system and go to the places where parents are to provide those resources so that they can better help us prepare our students. Scale up existing college readiness programs. I heard it from a number of students who say, you spend an inordinate amount of time talking about struggling students, but what about students who are extraordinary? I want to know what you intend to do for those of us who are not struggling, but who are extraordinary. What are you doing in terms of improving our readiness for college? And I think this is well taken. I've recently, even this past weekend, had conversations with students who came back from college and said, don't feel like I was prepared in some areas as well as I could have been. And so I think this is a great recommendation. And to also increase place-based behavioral health supports for students and families focused on the adolescent learner. This is really important. We now understand better than ever the importance of adolescence, and that this is one of the most impactful times in the lives of any person. We often talk about what happens between 0 and 5. Well, as it turns out, adolescence is at least as important as what happens as you change and develop, probably as much as you do from 0 to 2 in adolescence. And so having behavioral health supports for students is a recommendation that we accept and believe will be really, really helpful. From our career and youth employment opportunities was also a recommendation received from that particular committee. As you know, we have been really, really diligent in terms of building out our summer youth employment program. And it's not just summer youth employment. What I like about our program is a summer youth enrichment program. And we expanded the age from 14 to 22, which means we get to our kids earlier. But we believe there are critical skills that we pass along to our kids through these programs that are not just employment. That is a part of it. But it's an opportunity to really pour into our kids to develop them in terms of their workforce readiness. Again, how do you show up at work on time? Communication at a workplace. These are all the skills that we'll have a chance to develop. And we have expanded that program, as you know, because many of you have been our partners in it, to be able to accommodate double the amount of students. The 6,000 applicants, and in fact, we have already, as you might imagine, we've already hit the 6,000 mark. We had a great need for this program. We expanded from 3,000 to 6,000, and in no time we got to 6,000. So what that means is that we'll be calling upon many in this room to help us to attract businesses to the county, not just this summer, because we still need employers even for this summer. But if you can imagine, if we got to 6,000 this quickly, we can easily grow to 10,000. I think really the need is just that great, and so next summer we'll be looking to do that. But we do need your help and support even this summer to make our program successful. Career and technical education is something else that is imperative, and this is a top-line recommendation from the committee to make sure that our children won't just have, so that our kids will have a path to success. For those who are not interested in college, but who have other aspirations, making sure that there is a pathway for them to succeed as well, and to have the career and technical education centers that we need in our county is also a wonderful recommendation. On the environment, transportation, and sustainability, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that the recommendation from that particular committee was to stay the course on waste management. The recommendation was that we not go back to 2-day-a-week trash. And the bad news is that we are going to return soon, but in a way that I think everyone here will agree is so innovative and so amazing. So Joe Gill and our Department of the Environment came up with a really wonderful way for us to allow a second day of trash for our citizens, but we'll only be collecting food waste. So on the second day, we'll be collecting food waste. We collect on Mondays food waste and yard waste. And so now what we'll be doing is just collecting food waste and yard waste on the first day, and on the second day, we'll be collecting all other trash. The reason that this is a really good solution for the county is because we've already had the contracts in place. And so this does not cost us, other than the containers, any additional dollars to do it this way. The food waste that we collect we'll use for composting, which means we're actually going to make money. So we need to spread that word, right? Let them know that we not only did not spend extra money, we're going to make a little money on this idea, and we believe that this is a more environmentally responsible way for us to move forward. So we're going to collect food waste and yard waste on one day. This will help me not get run out of the county, because I have to tell you, when I run into people in Wegmans and at gas stations, they're saying to me, I eat my crabs on the weekend, and I don't know why in the world you all took the ability. I don't know what to do with these crabs after I've had my cookout and barbecue over the weekend. So this means that now, after they've had their crabs and the barbecue and such on the weekend, by Monday, we'll come out and pick up the food waste, and those crabs and such can be collected on Monday. So this will hopefully allow me to get coffee and whatever in peace, because the trash, I'm trying to tell you, that this is the one that I will use I don't think the word confront is an exaggeration. This is the issue that I am confronted on, is the one about the trash removal. So I'm really excited. We've met with our county council partners and believe that we have really good buy-in to do it that way. To optimize and modernize bus services. I'm excited about this particular recommendation, and I am excited also that we have the talent to really implement this. I don't know whether any of you have had the opportunity to meet Terry Bellamy yet. If you haven't, you soon will meet Terry Bellamy. He's known, and I was talking to Emeka about him today. He's a person who's known around the region for his expertise. He's worked for many years in this area, but our team at the Department of Public Works and Transportation is working hard to study bus routes and operating hours and everything about how our bus system operates, because I also heard, especially from seniors and others, that we focus so heavily with those 15 metro stations on how to get out of the county that we forgot to consider how our residents can move inside the county, and whether or not it is convenient for our residents to be able to access jobs and other things that they need in the county. And so we are going to make sure that we use a good amount of our capital helping to optimize the transportation inside the county. You'll see that reflected in our budget in this next cycle as well, where we were able to invest in new buses, and we also are aware that WMATA is actually, as we speak, rerouting some of the bus routes, or reconsidering some of the bus routes. And so this is a good time for us to consider how to improve our transportation. We also know one of the recommendations was to change the role of the agency from one of just building and maintaining infrastructure and running a bus system to one of planning and managing mobility in the county. I think that is a perfect way to put that. So mobility is something that if you talk to Terry Bellamy, you'll hear great excitement from him as he talks about how to leverage the transit around the county using some of the new innovative techniques. In addition to the environment, transportation, and sustainability, they mentioned as well increased effectiveness through technology. And as I mentioned to you, we do admit that this is one of the areas where we have a great opportunity is to really to improve the technology. It just runs all through government. In health and human services, the larger recommendation is called health reform. That's generally what it's called. We have Dr. Askew here, whose energy is similar to Major. This is kind of amazing. We have these people who are so high energy, and Dr. Askew is one of those people you better have had a tall cup of coffee before you run into Dr. Askew, who is our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer in this area, because he's on fire about really reforming health so that we create not a healthcare network that provides our citizens with a vast network of affordable, accessible doctors to address health issues, and that we just really expand what we're doing to take it out into our communities to build a comprehensive behavioral health care system for the county by improving on current services, capturing federal funding, and collaborating with community partners. This was the recommendation from that committee, and it is an excellent one. Provide targeted programs and services for key special populations to strengthen the safety net and support our most vulnerable residents. And I think, again, using data is going to be, technology is important, but also data to help us with some mapping so that we know where some of the challenges are around the county and that we tailor our approaches to those particular populations. We know, for example, Dr. Carter from our health department really did stun me when he recently said that we have a growing problem around HIV transmission in Prince George's County. I did not realize that this was the case, but we are really very concerned about the HIV transmission rate in the county, and that we are looking at young men between the ages of 20 and 29 as the primary group of individuals who we are seeing that grow in, but it is really at alarming rates. And so we need to really make sure that we're understanding what's happening in the population and that we tailor our approaches to it. Housing and community development, property standards is the top line recommendation is to improve property standards, to make improvements when it comes to code enforcement, especially with the ability to hold accountable property owners who have rental properties that are not up to code, and to make the investments needed to do that. We also need to work on vacant homes that are not being maintained, and they can be an eyesore in the neighborhoods and drive down our home values, and to look at innovative ways to use land banks to purchase those homes and revitalize and repurpose them. Now, I have some good news about this particular recommendation, and that is that part of the work we're doing in Annapolis right now is to bring back funding to address these very issues. We have targeted legislation in, and we've been working even with the governor's staff to make sure that we are applying for funding. We are testifying today, as a matter of fact. Major is going to be in Annapolis testifying for some Bernie grant funding, which we believe will be sustainable over the next 5 years. We're looking at $7 million over each year for the next 5 years. And this will allow us to revitalize housing, to buy some of these houses, and to work with nonprofits to rebuild the houses and to create land banks. We're also looking at funding that will help us to eliminate some of the food deserts in our inner beltway areas, and some that will help us to help to revitalize some of the shopping centers that have become unsightly and unattractive. And so there's funding for that. But as I mentioned to you, with the code enforcement through the Department of Permitting and Inspections, Melinda Bowling is our director over that agency. And I have to tell you, Melinda, much like her DCAO, Tara Jackson, are two very serious ladies. And so they are working really hard to make sure that we have the capacity, because one of the issues we learned there was that we just didn't have the numbers of employees that we needed. We had to really work with the Office of Human Resource Management to make sure it's no longer taking us, it took us 6 months to hire. If you can imagine what we looked at on average, it takes us 6 months to bring people on board. By the time this happens, they've already moved on and accepted another offer someplace else. And so we really have to focus again on making sure that our processes are professional, and that we're able to bring on board the number of people that we needed. We're also having a little trouble competing with salaries and such, but that's an area that we are working on to make sure that we have the code inspectors that we need. And I know that there's also a recommendation that we agree with that talks about revenues, increasing revenues in this area, because what we know is that some of our fee structures are outdated. Much like our technology, we have not readdressed the issue around fees in a very long time. So I know that Tara is working, Tara Jackson and the team are working to look at those fee structures to make sure that we have the revenues that we need also to make many changes. County municipal approach to development was another recommendation that came out of our housing and community development. How can we improve the county if we don't have relationships with the leadership in our municipalities? It really, for us, makes good common sense that we're going to have to work much more closely with the folks in our municipalities to understand their individual communities, what they foresee for their communities. And so we hosted about a week ago a really great breakfast with all of our municipal mayors, invited them into our office, and are going to have regular conversation and interactions with them. They appreciated it, and so do we, and we think that we're going to really yield great results from that. And then in the last two areas, organizational management and talent development, this is another huge area. And this is, you'll see this in our budget as well, with, as I've mentioned, through the Office of Human Resource Management. Then public engagement, enhanced strategic partnerships. I think you'll feel good about this area as well. We have Diana Leon Brown and Sheila Curry. Now, this is a powerful team who are working on strategic partnerships. I happened to walk past the office yesterday, and there was so much buzz in this one office, I wanted to walk in. I said, what you got going on here? I could feel the energy coming. And they had a whiteboard going. And Diana and Sheila were going to town with all of this. They had a whole mapping system out on this whiteboard, mapping out all the strategic partnerships that they are pursuing for us. And so this is a new area, and I think you're going to see some real excitement and some really great results in that area as well. And then finally, the final two areas, public safety. This work group really recognizes this is one of the real strong areas that we have. And so Mr. McGaw and his team have done an amazing job in terms of just the public safety in our county is second to none. That's the truth. In terms of the state standing of all of our public safety agencies are just some of the strongest in the region. And so the goal there is to make sure that we are continuing to resource and staff those various areas so that we ensure the crime reductions that we've seen. I see Andy Pantelis is here also. Our fire service is very strong. Corrections, we've seen the prison population come down. So it's been a really strong area. And so we want to make sure that we continue to resource and support the areas of public safety and to make sure we continue the public engagement that's helped us to be successful. And then I know I just said two, I'm sorry, two more areas. County Click 311, you all have heard a lot about that area, and we're now implementing County Click 311 2.0, meaning that we are really investing in helping our citizens to better communicate with us their needs and to have more rapid and professional response times for them. And so Unisha Davis is a person who's already made major enhancements in that area and improvements. And in fact, they're so innovative that on 311, March 11, you get that, right? On 311, we're launching our new 311 enhancements in a new community program that will bring community relations to you. And then youth sports is an area that we've seen a lot of excitement around. And we are working in Annapolis right now to establish a youth sports division. And this one, let me just tell you, it's going to change the complexion of how we engage with young people, how we develop them. And I want everyone to be clear, the youth sports is not just about building athletes. It's about investing in young people. And that is the reason that we have really invested in the way that we have. We want young people who are not only physically strong, but who are mentally strong, emotionally strong, who understand the concepts of teamwork and perseverance. And these are some of the principles that we think we can help instill in our kids and build stronger students through our youth sports programs, and that we can make it easier for more to access all that we have to offer. Our Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Division is award-winning. It is a national award-winning agency, but we just want to make sure that more of our children have an opportunity to access it. So I will leave it here, and just to give you a huge thank you on behalf of all of us. I'm just really grateful for the time that you've spent. I know that there is much more. I think we have 150 pages worth of recommendations and thought leadership, and so I look forward to being able to really implement much of what was recommended. And again, I can't say thank you enough for lending us your time and experience and your best thoughts. I'm excited about where we're going. I'm very excited, and the best part of it is that I know that excitement is also felt by the people we represent. I can't tell you just what a thrill it is to be the county executive in a place where the love and the optimism is so high everywhere I go, and you are helping us to succeed in this, and I really appreciate it.